Hello and welcome to another Blender Know-How tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to use make a bullet collide with these shapes in a rigid body. So this is kind of what we're going after, but in reality this is going to be a little bit different tutorial as we're going to be focusing more on the animation. So as you can see, we have it collide with them. Nothing way fancy, but just to show you some quick how-to on it. So it should, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. Open up Blender, and I'm going to turn my screencast keys. So I'm going to go. I don't know if it worked. Oh, just 1 minute. Gotta get to go on. Okay. So I just turn on my screencast keys. Now you can see what buttons I'm going to push over on the right hand corner. So if I hit N, you can see it just disappeared. So go ahead, we're going to make, first we're going to make the rectangles. So let's make it just a little bit thinner. That's all I did with this. I'm going to go to the front view using the numpad 1. And I'm going to put it right above this axis. And I'm going to move to the left. And I'm going to hit 5 so we can go to the orthographic mode. That makes it so we can, so there's no perspective. Like that, you can see the edges. That is just face on, like a blueprint. And then I'm going to go to the Modifiers tab, hit Add Modifier, and I'm going to go to Array. Okay, and this is important because in the rigid body physics, if they're touching each other, it doesn't work. So we have to go probably 0.5 would be okay. If they're too close, it'll just explode and it won't work right. So I'm going to put 5 here, and I'm going to center it once again. So that's kind of, it doesn't really have to be, but it just works better. It's easier, and easier is better. So I'm going to add modifier array again, but we're not going to make it go this way. We're going to make it go up. So we're going to hit 0 here, and if I remember right, this is the z-axis, and we're going to go 1.05, and we're going to print the count to 5. So now we have 5 down, 5 across. But this is all one object, which is what we don't want. So we're going to hit apply, apply. But if you go into the tab mode, you can see they're all separate, but they're all in one object. So if we just hit P, that'll be separate. We can hit separate by loose parts. Now each one of these is separate, but the problem is if you look at this, each one of these pieces, the origin is down here, and when we go into the physics tab, that causes problems because if the origin is down here, technically these are all touching each other, so it kind of reads it wrong. So what we need to do is go into your side view and select all of them, and then just hit set origin to center of mass, and it's easy as that. They're all unique and they're all separate from each other. Now we're going to, we need to add, just click on one of these and hit add active, and then you can go over, it's in the physics tab. If you don't have it over here, you can come over here, just this physics tab. Either way, you can do it here or here, and just hit rigid body if you're over on this side, and then you hit active, and then all this looks fine other than the shape. We want it to be mesh. I think we should be okay. Actually, leave that at convex hull. We'll change that later, so that if we need to, because it works better if you can use these basic shapes. It just works a little bit better. Surface response. We need the friction to be 0.75. If not, when they all, because there's a little bit of space there, they're going to drop a little bit. The friction allows it to stick a little bit better, so they don't all just topple over all at once. So actually, I'm going to do this. Now select them all. So this is your active one, but these are all selected. So if you hit add active, so this one you'll need to go over to the physics tab on the left side, and then hit copy from active. Now all of these have the same attributes as the first one, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to select that first one and select them all again, and hit Alt A. They all fall. That's what we're looking for. Next, we're going to hit 3 to go to the side view and hit Add Mesh Plane. We're going to scale it up and add a collision physics. So if you're not in the physics tab, click the physics tab and hit collision. That should work just fine for us. Hit Alt A and watch. We did something wrong. Oh, no, not collision. Deselect the collision. We're going to go to rigid body and do passive. So it's going to be a rigid body now, but the difference between active and passive is this one will move and passive moves the object. So I'll show you. So this is going to be passive, and this is this is active and this is passive. So when you hit Alt A, the passive stops the active from falling. So it's pretty much the same thing as the active, but just doesn't move. So that's good. We have a couple falling objects up here, so we may need to go back. So select one and then select them all. If you don't do that, you don't know what you're changing sometimes, and it creates a lot less headache if you can just do it that way. Let's try the mesh, see if that just solves our problem. It's closer, but not quite. Okay, so let's just change that back to convex hull. We'll increase the friction a little bit. How about change the mass to 0.02? So I'm going to change that back. Oh, I forgot. This is probably the reason why it's not working. When you hit copy from active, so change your mass to 0.02, because we want these to be pretty light. When the bullet hits it, if they're heavy, they don't do as much. You can keep them heavy, it'll still work. I tested it with this one, but in some other instances, the lighter the mass is compared to the other objects, they'll have more of a reaction. They'll do more. So when you hit copy from active, you can test it. We still have those two falling objects. So I'm going to hit collision margin, and let's try it, see what we get. We're getting a little bit closer. Let's lower this number to 0.01 and try it. Still not coming there. That's because we haven't hit copy from active. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So we have these pillars, practically they're just towers of squares. Now let's go ahead, let's move them backwards a little bit, test it, make sure we didn't screw up anything doing that. So I'm okay. If you need to, just lower this margin right here and you should be okay. It should solve some problems. And then I'm going to hit Shift A, make sure you're in object mode, hit Shift A, add mesh cylinder. And I'm going to lower the poly count on this, so the vertice count. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm going to move it up. We're going to make a bullet right now. So we're going to scale it down. This isn't going to be like a way cool bullet. This is a very simple get her done bullet. So we can just continue. This little button down here will control how much you can select. So what you see is what you'll select right now. But if you deselect it so it's lighter, then when you select everything, which is what we want in this instance. So go ahead and hit the G button, extend a little bit, extrude it, scale it, extrude it some more, scale it. And you don't have to do exactly like this. And remember, this is not professional. This is not going to be a very good bullet. It's just a simple tutorial. So I'm going to now hit, if you want to go to a point, just hit S and then hit the 0 on your numpad, or any, I just hit a 0, and it'll scale it to a 0. And that's not too bad. I might even go with the tools and hit smooth shading, just to make it look nicer. Actually, I like it better flat. So, I'm going to hit the 3. I'm going to move it back here a little bit. And I'm going to make our timeline to 100. We're going to set it to frame 1 and hit I location. Now that we're animating this bullet right now. So if we go, let's go to frame 60 and put it a little bit past here and hit I location. Now if we were to play this, we have a bullet going right through there. The reason why this is not interacting with this is when you go to the physics tab of the bullet, so make sure you're selected the bullet, go to the physics tab, rigid body, it needs to be active, but when you click animated, because we have animated this, so it's not going to be acted upon like these. So when we hit Alt A, we now have it interacting, which is exactly what we want. If you would like to, you can set this to a lower amount, so you can hit 0.01, and it will affect these slightly less. You can't really notice it too much. Or you can do like 500. It's not very noticeable in this demonstration, but if you were to have a lot of smaller ones, so if we were to take these, which we can do, and scale them down, we're going to put them down here, and then, so you can do this any way you want to. I'm just showing you a couple different ways of what we're doing. And remember, you'll have to reanimate this, so let's move it down here and hit I location, go to frame 60 and hit move it down, I location. Let's see what it does. See it, and that's kind of cool. I like that almost better than the bigger ones. Is it more explodes? If you want to, you can come in here and watch what happens if you increase to like make these way heavy. Yeah, well, right there, I forgot to do. When you go to the physics tab and hit copy from active, now they're all that way. You can see it has a little bit different effect. They have a little bit. They look heavier. That's the only purpose of this. So if you change this to 0.02 again, they're more floaty. I don't know how else to explain that. So I hope this has helped, and I hope you could follow along, because these rigid bodies really aren't hard, and they're really fun to work with a little bit. If I remember right, some of these, I did that wrong. Some of these force fields work with them too. So let's change the strength to -500. Yeah, it has a little bit of effect on them. See, on that one, it's because I didn't do the copy from active thing again on that one. But that is how it's done. So, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.